Hello everyone, I'm Kibin Alleyne and today is Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. The New York Foundling unveiled a major affordable and supportive housing complex in Harlem, creating a new model for helping youth aging out of foster care and exiting the shelter system. The 17-story residential tower also offers extensive on-site services to support their independence with counseling, therapy, mentorship, and job training. President and CEO of the New York Foundling, Melanie Hartzog, joins me to discuss. Melanie, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's great to be back in the borough that I started my career in.
Now, I'd love to learn a little bit more about the New York Foundling and its overall mission.
Sure. We have been around for more than 150 years, started by the Sisters of Charity, and our mission is to continue to support people and meet them where they're at. It is always about the communities, what we serve, what they need. The Foundling has more than 40 programs and services throughout.
And can you tell me a little bit more about some of the communities you serve?
Absolutely. So we're in the 5 boroughs. Here in the Bronx, we have our Mott Haven Academy in the South Bronx, a pre-K through 8th grade school. And it's also co-located with our healthcare center that provides pediatric primary and behavioral health care. We're also Rockland, Westchester, and Orange County, and the island of Puerto Rico, where we have 47 early Head Start programs.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now, what has been the impact your organization had or has on families navigating foster care?
The decision to remove a family or child from their family is a big one, and it is mostly traumatic experience for any age group. So what we try to do, and we've been one of the leading organizations in the field, is really to place children with what we call kin, a relative, a caregiver, a supportive neighbor in the community. More than 50% of the children in our care are with a known family member or caregiver. That's the first and foremost important to us. And then the second thing is for youth who are not going to be returning to their family, how do we support those young people in achieving their full potential? Whether it's through tutoring, providing educational supports. We know that children in foster care and their educational outcomes are lower than the citywide average, and we want to support them in achieving their full potential. Or it's participating in our Fostering College Success Initiative. We started out with 40 young people in this program in 2016. Over 300 youth are now participating in our College Choice program. And we have one young person who's going to Harvard for a master's program. Yeah,
oh,
it is
that's so
really
awesome
something.
to hear.
Yeah.
Now you're expanding this effort, just to assist those in foster care even more with housing. Can you tell us about this effort towards assisting youth aging out of foster care?
Sure. So housing is an issue for every New Yorker, and when I think about how many places I've lived, if I had to write down in 25 years, it's a long list, right? And it's a real crisis. And for our young people, imagine being a 16-year-old, 17-year-old who is now, okay, I've got to find housing and navigate New York City on my own. That is daunting for anyone, but particularly for a young person in foster care with all of the traumatic experiences they've had. And so for us, it was a natural, right, no-brainer for us to start working with and partnering with developers around the city to provide housing opportunities for our young people, and not just looking at an apartment, but in a community, in a new development like Harlem, where we have more than 70 young people who are now living in Harlem in this brand new development on 126th Street. It is a really wonderful thing. And a lot of them, especially I think of Vanessa, who just moved in, who was at our grand opening and talked about how much stability this provided for her. After graduating college and wanting to pursue her graduate degree in nursing, housing's a really big stabilizing factor. And you can't really think about pursuing a graduate degree, a job, economic mobility without housing. And so that support that we're able to provide is really amazing.
Now, can you walk me through the steps or, just talk about when the organization realized that this demographic was in need of this assistance, especially with housing?
Sure. I think we often think of supportive housing as something that is for people who have a mental health issue. We don't think of supportive housing as for young people who are now leaving foster care and trying to navigate New York City. Or for that matter, a foster child themselves at 15 years old who now finds themselves pregnant and becoming a parent, like Safia, who participates in our mother-child program. She's 15 with a 1-year-old. And so for us, it really is catering to what are the needs of that young person. It's very different to be a 15-year-old mom, right, with a 1-year-old than it is to be a 18-year-old who's leaving college. And so our supportive services are very much tailored to each individual and the different communities we serve.
And can you expand on that? Because I think that's
Sure.
pretty amazing that the organization is just looking at the many different outcomes that or the possibilities that are there just because life happens. So can you
Yeah.
talk about just the importance of kind of noticing that and the efforts that the organization takes to further support those in these types of situations?
Yeah, so our mother-child program, which we just, in partnership with the Administration for Children's Services, expanded, we'll have about 30 plus odd moms and their young children with them in a Parkchester community, brand new development, 3 rooms, 3 bedrooms to an apartment. I think it's a really powerful model when you have moms who are of the same age, with the same age of children, who are going through the experience of having been removed from their homes, and now they are parents themselves and navigating the world. And I think about when I was a mom and what support I needed, when my son, who's now going to be 16, but when he was born, I thought I knew what I was doing. I needed help. And one night of him crying hysterically and I couldn't get him to sleep, and my mom walked in the room and gave me that support. And that's exactly what we can do for these young moms, which is 24-hour support if they need it. And it's the little things that matter. On site, in their apartments, they have their washer dryers, they have a dishwasher, big game changer as a parent, I can tell you. But those are the little things. And then you think about the Parkchester community, right? They're in a residential area, there is a grocery store, there's the school that eventually their children may go to. There's all of these different supports, and those are important in the community as well. But that ability to have that 24/7 support, if you need childcare, we can provide that on site in that development, is a real game changer. And I think for Safia, when she moved in and talked about how this is a fancy apartment, it's a brand new development, and to really give that to a young person who's been through such a horrific experience and now is finding that grit and tenacity to move on with their life is a powerful model.
That's amazing, and I love to hear, that the these people and the people from these communities are going into nice areas. It's not just something that
Yes.
it's like, oh, they just need somewhere to stay. They're places that they want to stay. So I think that's amazing. With that being said, and just understanding that life happens, can you talk about some of the challenges youth face when aging out of foster care in general?
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about when 18 years old and embarking on, what does life mean? Housing, finding employment, making a decision to go to college, navigating a very complicated systems of services. And so we're there on site to provide that support, whether it's figuring out in Harlem, what are all the different, activities in the community, grocery stores. I was telling the girls, like, there's a lot of fancy restaurants here. Watch the pocket, right? But it's a Trader Joe's, where the Target is. Those types of little things that sometimes we as adults take for granted, right? We know where things are. We know how to navigate and look. When you're that young and you don't have that support network, it means a lot to be able to go to somebody that is going to be on site and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. Where do I find this and this resource? Or, I'm just having a really rough day. Life is hard. Most certainly in a stressful city like New York, and being able to have somebody that's trusted, that that you can walk down from your apartment, take the elevator and just say, hey, I'd like to have a conversation. That's what we're here for. That's what we do.
Right, and I'd also like to add that even some adults struggle with, some of these responsibilities of life, and we hear it all the time that
Oh, yeah.
adulting is hard, and so I could imagine, for somebody who's 15 who has to kind of become an adult early, it's definitely challenging, which is why it's amazing that we have programs like this that can assist them. I also want to talk about how this effort also expands to youth with disabilities, which is very, very important. Can you just tell us a little bit more about how you ensure members of this demographic have access to the resources they need to thrive?
Yes, this is very near and dear to my heart, because I think that there is a perception that people who are living with intellectual developmental disabilities don't see their full potential, don't want to live independently, and that is absolutely not the case. Our mission is people-centered. What is in your best interest, and how do we support you in achieving that? We're one of, I think, only a handful of organizations in New York City that's nationally accredited for this model of how we provide our services. And most certainly for people with developmental disabilities who want to live independently, They're in our supportive housing developments right alongside youth aging out and right alongside members of the community. And we think that's important, is to have an integrated model where they feel like they are part of the community, because they most certainly are.
And can you talk a little bit about maybe some of the unique challenges youth with disabilities face, especially, those who may be in foster care?
Accessibility is a big one. And for our mother-child program, we have apartments on the first floor that are fully accessible so that we can have our population, our community that has developmental disabilities living with our young moms who are parenting and out of foster care themselves. Again, those integrated models make a huge difference. And our staff are there on site for anything that that individual may need. And it can be work, they're interested in having employment, they're interested in navigating the community, they need to get to their healthcare appointments. We are there to provide those supports and to support them living independently. That's really important.
Now, how can organizations or viewers watching just support this overall effort, to support those in our city who need it the most?
Well, you can always visit our website at thenewyorkfoundling.org. Come see us. Would love to have people out to see our programming and what we do. And we're in so many communities. We want to be here to support those who need it.
And then, what do you hope to see for the future of the overall organization and this effort?
I think that housing is such a demand, just a need in the communities that we serve. And so continuing to grow our partnerships around housing and more supportive housing, whether it's for young people, families we serve, individuals with developmental disabilities, that most certainly is a big part of our goal moving forward.
I just want to, say again, I think this is an amazing program, and there's so many communities, in our city that need help, but I don't often see a lot focus on, children aging out of foster care. And so I think, once I saw that this was, something that was happening, I definitely wanted to take the moment to talk about it. So, I just want to say thank you for joining us and kind of educating our community on the work that you're doing to support those who need it. So once again, thank you.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
To keep up with all the amazing work this organization is doing, please go to their website at nyfoundling.org. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Open right after this.